story, her resilience and her hard-working ethic is the reason why she has successfully managed to pick herself up from a very bad fall, and she's bounced back all the way to the top. After this, Dr. Lucas Moloi is going to be joining us after the break. He's going to be sharing his remarkable story of triumph. We'll see you after that. Welcome back to Real Talk. Tonight, we're talking to people that have once lost everything they worked for and their incredible story of how they bounced back. Joining me on the couch is business coach, speaker, and author of The Everyday Battlefield. If there's anyone who encompasses the traits of a true bounce back story, it's this guy right here, because he made his first million by the age of 23. And then he ended up filing for bankruptcy 3 times by the age of 35. He's the perfect guy to dish out advice on how to pick yourself up. So please welcome Dr. Lucas Moloi to Real Talk. How the doc?
I'm good, thanks, and you as well.
I'm good, thank you.
Not bad.
So just like we did with Ntabi saying, let's understand how you built your empires. Because for you, it's been a journey of starting, falling, starting again. So at 17, you go into the modeling agency business. Very young, but why modeling agency?
Look, it was a forced marriage with business.
Oh.
So at the age of 17 and that, like a normal black family, you educate the eldest child, and then they will take their siblings to school.
Yes.
And that formula works brilliantly. Only until the eldest child passes on. So at the age of 17 and that, nicely around July and that, my elder brother had, my mother, who was a domestic worker at the time, had taken all the money in the family,
Yes.
educated my elder brother and that. He's now an electrical engineer. He gets a job. He doesn't work for a month. He passes on. So the reality is you're not going to school. There is no money in the family. There's just not enough time to build the reserves again. So I find myself in a situation where there is no money to go to school. So what do? So wrote my matric exams, and that come January and that everybody is going to school. And now you left in the township, there's nothing to do, and you've got to come up with a plan.
Yes.
So I remember sitting there and saying to myself, look, am I going to end up on the street corner like everybody else that says, what can I do? And then an idea came. So back then, Valentine's Day was a big thing, and I thought, look, Valentine's Day is coming in February, and that how about I organize a beauty pageant? So I organized a beauty pageant, and Mr. and Miss Valentine. It went well, but I didn't have money as well to start. And this is where the biggest lesson comes
Yes.
through. Start with what you've got. Be able to negotiate your way out of things. So the first thing that I do, here I am, I don't have money, I need to organize a beauty pageant. So what do? I go to the guy that hires out a hall, and I say, I need a hall, how much do you charge? And he says to me, 75 rand. And I say to him, great, I'll pay you 150. So he looks at me, says, 150, I say, I'll pay you 150, one catch. I pay you on the day of the show.
After the door taking
You
and
understand?
all of that.
So he was not keen on that idea, but I said to him, look, there's 2 situations here. You're either going to keep the hall, rent it out to someone that is going to pay you 75 rand, or you're going to risk no one coming to rent it for the day, or you're going to take a chance on me and get 150.
And he did.
And he did.
Yes.
And I said, now I need a sound. And I went and negotiated the same deal for sound. Now, I had the 2 most needed things in this thing. I wrote my posters by hand, went around the township posting them on every street pole with plastic and flour that is made in the plastic and that, and, posted these posters around everywhere. The day came, the show took place, everything, and guess who was at the door? Me again, collected my own money. And this is where I landed. When you are in business, the critical process of your business is you do yourself. And if your business is about cleaning, you have to be the best.
You have to get in there. You've got to get stuck in every facet of it. You have to do yourself.
To be the best in every aspect of your business.
And I want us to focus on those lessons because you put them down so succinctly in your book. But then past that, past the modeling agency, which had absolutely humble beginnings, you were no tabalatsa, you hustled your way into making this a reality. And then fast forward, there you are, you have a business junto group which specializes in luxury vehicles and property. And you're making serious cash. What were you worth at the time?
Look, Junto itself, I started when I was still in matric, you know. So I was fascinated by the name. I remember one day I liked reading. So I was paging through the dictionary and I saw this name Junta. And Junta was coming, and it was a group of people which were brought together by the same idea. I said, I like this name, I'm gonna use it in the future. So when I then started the business in 2004 and that, this was the name I then went with. Fast forward to that, we started with consulting and that, and we made our way into renting out of luxury cars. Now, I love cars. I collect cars even now. And there I am, and I say, I want to have that car and that car, but I don't have money to buy all these cars.
Yes.
So what do I do to make sure I get this? And I got involved with a group of people, and what we did was to come together, contribute cars that you had, and then we went out looking for people that had these luxury cars and they were not using them, and we started saying, how about you give us your Rolls Royce, we'll rent it out for 30K, we'll pay you 15 and we walk away with 15. And people were keen on this.
Wow. So it's happening, it's cooking.
Yeah.
But then how does someone then have 3 bankruptcies? One would think that the first one is less than enough for you to get your ducks in a row and for it not to happen again.
You know, the one lesson that you never learn as an entrepreneur is how to not be passionate. So every single time I went bankrupt, it had nothing to do with my management of money. It had everything to do with my passion for what I do. So when I love an idea, when I believe in it, I will spend everything I have, including my socks, because I want to make sure that it works. So that's how I went bankrupt. Every time I got bankrupt is because I took everything that I had, everything that backed me up, and I put it in an idea. And every time when that idea failed, it failed with everything that I had.
Wow.
So the first bankruptcy was when 2008, when things went a little bit pear-shaped with the economy and that, people couldn't rent out luxury cars anymore. And you have got these cars that you still need to pay and that the bills are just too high. You don't want to let go. That attachment to the business, I love it, I started it. And you start taking money from the bank to subsidize a business that's dying.
Right.
And I like what Shaventi said earlier on. If it's dying, no amount of money is going to save it.
Be clinical, cut
your losses,
it right there.
Move.
So what is the impact, what is the effect of declaring bankruptcy?
Look, let me say this to you. How do you go back to a family that you have gotten used to living in a R1 million house, in a couple of properties and that, and you tell them, listen, we're giving everything away, we're going to rent. How do you tell people that I'm moving out of a R1 million house, a multi-million rent house to live in a garage? How do you tell people that I'm no longer going to drive the most luxurious British sedan into a taxi again? And that is the impact of bankruptcy. All your, the confidence in yourself, the belief in yourself is really tested because what people knew about you, it's now no longer there. Now you stand there naked and people get to know exactly who you are on the inside.
And dare I say, you get to know who you are without all of these material things. I want us to pause it right there because you found it in you to, in those difficult moments, to actually put these thoughts down on paper, these lessons as you were going through them on paper, and of course published the book. My conversation with Dr. Lucas Moloi continues after the break. Don't miss his story of building himself back up. Welcome back to Real Talk. In tonight's edition of Monday Motivation, we have Dr. Moloi on the couch, and he's been sharing his incredible story of bouncing back every time life took a jab at him. So what do you do after losing millions of rands, closing down numerous businesses, and declaring bankruptcy 3 times? But I'll tell you what you do. You write a book on how to keep going when life knocks the wind out of you. And here to tell us more about what he's written about in this book is the man himself, Dr. Moloi. But before we get into the wisdom, the pearls that you share in this book, because I think there's so much to latch onto in it. You were married when you declared your first bankruptcy, and you subsequently divorced as a result of your financial losses.
Yeah, well, it was not yet marriage and that, but you know, it was a serious relationship, and you get into things like that. And look, again, you've got to understand that some people will be in your life for some things, but not always that people are in your life for money. But when you put people in a position where you get them used to certain things, and later on those things are taken away from them, the reaction is not the same.
You're accused of being selfish.
Yes. So I've been told, and one says, what are the sacrifices of entrepreneurship? And that, my sacrifices of entrepreneurship is, it's 4 failed serious relationships. The person comes and says, you're the most selfish man I've met. You think only about yourself and the success you want. You think only about what you want and nothing about what is good for us.
You risk us.
You risk us. You put things in harm's way, and that, look at us now. How do we tell the people that all those things are not there anymore? And that's what entrepreneurs have to go through in this journey.
So your book, let's talk about that. The title is Everyday Battlefields, right? And in it you talk about the 20-year philosophy and the 3 life stages. Just explain that further, unpack it quickly.
Look, so when I started the business, I realized one thing. I realized that our lives is probably made up of 3 stages, and each stage of our lives is made up of plus or minus 20 years. So the first 20 years of your life you spend learning. So you are in school, you learn to walk, you learn to talk, you start learning how life works and everything, and you go to school. And when the second phase of life starts, it starts with you getting the first job and everything. This is the space where normally you break out into what you are going to become and be remembered as. So at that stage, when we get into the second stage of life, many people settle in a job. They work throughout all that stage up until then they are 40. At 40, that's when people say, I want to stabilize, I want to start a family, I want now to build something for the future and that. And they start at this 40 up until 60 years, whereby now they go and, you know, they retire. And now your life really starts.
Okay.
But I looked at this and I said, why? Why is life built in this way? And I realized that number 1 is the education system. Number 2 is what society has designed our life to be. Now, there is no need of you cutting your life in such stages, and especially such set time frames and that. But if you want to succeed, you've got to understand that success doesn't start in the next stage of your life. It starts at the first stage of the life, because that's where your success lies. That's where you become different from everyone.
Now I see your rationale. I see your rationale behind the your youth development initiatives. I see it now, right? But in the book as well, you talk about developing a destructive mindset, a mindset that is not easily destructible, the power of positive thinking.
You see, the thing is this, you are everything you believe you are. And when I say everything you believe, I mean everything that in your subconsciousness you believe you are. And this is not the same as sitting looking people in the eye and saying, I'm okay. It means you believe that you're okay, not telling people that you're okay. And once you have built that mindset, listen, I don't care what situation I'm in. When I say to myself, I'm going to pull out of that situation, what everybody says to me, it's plain simple noise, because I don't hear it. Because in my mind, I'm prepared, in my mind, I'm set. I am going to pull through. So I started boxing at a very late stage in life. So people say to me, why would you go on boxing like that? And I said, because it helps me get into a certain phase. So if you put the boxing gloves on and you face up with a punching bag and you hit it, and every time you hit this punching bag, say, that gives you that thing. It psychs you up to believe right in your mind that I can beat this bag.
Right.
And that's the mindset you need to build in life. In your business, in everything that you do, once you've built that mindset, if you get punched and you fall, you still say to yourself, I can still win this fight. When you watch boxers fighting, 11th round, everybody knows that this guy has been beaten, but he still believes that I need one knockout punch to win this match.
That's one knockout punch.
That's what you need.
Okay. So you've started this youth entrepreneurial program. Even your child, your daughter, at 7 years old, has her own business.
Yeah.
So what is the aim? What is the objective of this initiative?
So here's my debate, my argument about it. What do school teach us? School teach us, go to school from 7 years up until you are 18, get a job, build experience for 3 years, then get into junior management, then work into junior management, middle management, executive, retire as an executive, and then you've got money. Then you can retire, go on pension at 65, at least you have money. I say nonsense. Why do you have to spend your whole lifetime to only live well for 10 years, 20 years, 5 years for others? Now, we have got this thing that kids cannot do things, kids can do this only and not do. So at the age of 3 years, I realized that my daughter had interest in a few things. One of the things that she had interest in was planets. So I opened up and I said, learn planets, learn what do they do, how they are, and the names of the planets and everything and that. And at the age of 3 years, she could recite planets, which one comes after which one. Now, we moved from there into something else and into something else. So we broke down the barriers of what is it that you should teach a child at which age. So we broke down the barriers. At the age of 5, I asked her, what do you want to be when you grow up? Looks me now and says, well, Daddy, I want to be a fashion designer. So I said, good. Now, are you going to be a fashion designer who designs clothes for someone else, or are you going to be a fashion designer for yourself? So she says, I want my business like you. So I said, so what is the name of your business? And she says to me, Cinderella Sparkle. So I said, okay, that's fine. Following day, I buy a domain name, Cinderella Sparkle. We start a website. After that, I register a business, Cinderella Sparkle, and she's the owner of the business.
Yes, and now she's selling dresses.
And you say, there.
So what's the lesson in that? That we should inculcate an entrepreneurial spirit from as early as possible?
We need to build a culture that says to our kids and that you need to build your dream and not someone else's dream. Don't live your life building someone else's dream. If you fail to build your dream, someone is going to pay you to help them build their own dream.
Right.
So that's a choice that you make. But a dream, you are going to build a dream. It's either yours or someone else's. But we live to build dreams.
Yes. Wow. So you're writing another book. You're busy with another book about Kasipreneurs.
So what we did about Kasipreneurs is that I went back and looked and said, what are the things that I've learned in this road? How do I help the township people, the black people, to build legacy businesses? Because that's the problem that we have. We've got the Jews and all the other nationalities and races and that, they build businesses for legacy. We're the only people that build businesses for a lifestyle. Now, you can never change the future of a country when the people of that country are building businesses for lifestyle. So I build a business, and as long as it maintains my lifestyle, I don't care about tomorrow. I'll be dead, and if I'm dead, I don't care if there's a business or not in the family. Other people care about 5 generations from them. So I don't own a business. I don't own a house. I don't own a car. Everything belongs to the family trust, because my whole thing is that I take myself not as a business person. I am employed by the family trust that I set up to build this business so that I can hand it over to the owners that are my kids, who have to then also deliver it to the owners that are my grandkids. And that is how it works.
I want to end off with you by giving us 3 quick, as bullet points, 3 quick lessons that you've learned.
Look, The lessons that I've learned in life is that it's never too late nor too early to start something.
Okay,
You need to start it. The second one is that believe in yourself, even if the most closest people that know you better than anyone don't believe in you. And the third lesson is that it is not about you. You are not that important where the sun will stop rising tomorrow if you die. If you fall and die now, the watch that you are wearing will still go even if you are the one that paid for it. So don't live your life as if it will end with you. Live your life so that you can build a better tomorrow. Build your life so that a legacy continues. That's what we are here for the legacy to continue.
What an inspiration you are. Can't wait for the second book. Absolutely cannot wait. Entrepreneurship is what it's going to be called. Well, join me.